around because I'm trying, oops, I can't talk and click here. I'm trying to avoid, something, and it's all in my mind now. Oh, graphing calculator stuff. So the reason I'm jumping, or if you look at the syllabus, it looks kind of funny. It looks like, what's Mr. Heron doing? It's 3.3, then it's 5.1, then it's 4.1, and then I'm back to chapter 2 in a couple weeks, and then I'm trying to avoid the heavy graphing calculator sections and giving you guys a couple of weeks to get your hands on the graphing calculator. Remember, you can use an emulator until then online, and when you do your homework, you can just type in TI-84 emulator or something like that. They have fake graphing calculators. It'll come up on your, by Google. Just go with Google and search. It's free. Or there's a million programs. You can use your computer to do graphs and stuff. But eventually, by the time we get to exam 1, you'll need an actual graphing calculator to take during the exam. The third week, they'll rent them, remember, next week. But not everybody will get those. I think it's going to be a week from Thursday. So next week's Thursday, they'll rent them. It starts it's down the hall at like 4 o'clock. So you can try to be first come. They'll start lining up. Like right after class, you can go over and get in the line. And at $5, you get a cheap deal, and you can rent it all semester that way. Yeah.
I found a site online, rentaccount.com.
Oh.
TI-83 plus graphic calculator rental on $9.95 a month.
Oh, $9.95 a month.
Yeah.
So you would need it like 3 months. So it'd be $30 in the end. Yeah, it'd be a little cheaper. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So grab Michael if you want to check that out further. All right. So let's dive in then. So we're looking at that one. So you guys probably know already what's the interest formula for calculating interest? I equals, have you seen this one before? PRT. Interest equals principal times rate times time. Let me write those parts out for you. So this is interest. This is principal. This is the rate. Rate like a percent, And T is time in years. So interest equals principal times rate times time. You get a 3x5 card for each exam, so you don't have to memorize these formulas. You can write them right on your 3x5 card. It's just about using them correctly, So, and of course, you get a calculator or even a graphing calculator. So it's just about putting things in correctly, but that's not always easy. So let's see what we do here. So they're asking, what is the interest? What is the interest? So we say I equals PRT. Let's plug the things in. What is the P? What's the principal? Well, yeah, they're just saying it, huh? Whoops. Okay. So the principal is the 4,000. What is the R? What do you do with 8%? Yeah, you make it 0.08. Everybody good with that? 8%. The decimal's right there, and you go back 2 places because the 2 zeros in the percent, so 0.08. And the time is 9 months. Now, I can't just put a 9 in there for T. I have to put 9, instead of that, I have to put 9/12. Are you aware of that? Why am I doing 9/12? Because it's in years, right? Notice time is in years. So 9 months is 9/12 of a year, right? So you always, if it's months, you have to go over 12. If it's days, you have to go over 360. They're going to, we'll get to that. They're going to use 360 days in a year instead of 365. It's often used for financial things. Anyway, so you have to give the portion of the year it is, because time has to be in years for this formula. Okay, that's because the interest rate is 8% per year. So therefore, the time has to be years as well to make that all true. Anyway, then just hit the buttons on your calculator. You know what I mean by hit the buttons? Like it'd be 4,000 times 0.08 times 9 divided by 12. That's how you got to do with the fraction thing. It's just multiply the top number, divide the bottom number, hit equals, and please let me know what the answer is. What is it? 3,840. Thank you. 3,840. That's the interest. That seems high. 240? 240. Yeah, watch it. It's easy on the test. It's just hit your buttons twice because it's easy to hit a wrong button, when you take an actual test, since we have a lot of button pushing. 240?
You got to make sure that the 9 divided by 12 is in parentheses so that it does that first.
Most calculators, this should be just fine.
Yeah.
Just go.
Yeah, just straight on. Yeah, I'll tell you when you need extra parentheses and stuff. For that one should be just fine. That all good? Grab me. If calculator things grab me after class, usually 10 seconds. You know, I can show you what you're hitting wrong or something like that. Really, really quick. Just grab me later. Any other general questions on that one? Okay, let's... Boris. So there's my... Oh, no, good. It's not even showing. My kids are fooling around with my thing, and they have their little self pictures on here. Anyway, kids. All right. So, simple interest. Okay, so same form they're going to use. I equals PRT. Interest equals principal times rate times time. Find the simple interest on $39,200 at 10.25% for 179 days. Assume 360 days in a year, 30 days in a month. So can you do that one? Give that one a try. So let me jump in and help. So what's the principal? 39,200 times the interest rate, 0.1025. Right, move that decimal back 2 places. Can you all see that small writing? I should have made that one a little bigger. And then the time is 179 over 360. And then hit the buttons. You multiply by that 179 and divide by the 360. What was that going to be? 4,000. The answer should be a little over 2,000 something, I'm guessing.
Just less.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. What is it?
1997.84.
1997.84. So 1,000, just under 2,000. Okay. Good. We getting that on the calculator? That okay? So I'd encourage you to bring the calculator you want to use on the test, because you might not have that yet if you want to use a graphic calculator. But if you have it, bring it and use it, because I'll be showing you, different things you might use. No cell phones are allowed on the test, right? Because you could call out for question help, right? We can't do that, unfortunately. All right, good. On that one. Okay, so there we go. All right, so we're talking about a 1-year bond, $2,400 at a simple interest rate, 9% per year. Find the semi-annual interest. Now, what does that mean, semi-annual? Half a year. Semi is half. Like a semicircle is half a circle. Yeah, semi-annual, whatever, is half a year. So half a year, and the total interest earned over the life of the bond. Okay. So they want to find interest at halfway and all the way. So I equals PRT again. So they find the semi-annual interest payment. So that's the first question, the semi-annual interest. So the principal is the $2,400. The rate is 0.09. And the time, what do we do for the time?
6 over 12.
You could do 6 over 12, a half. I'm just going to go 0.5. Any of those versions is fine. Any version of a half, 6 12, 0.5, 1/2, whatever you like. That's, half a year, right? The time. There it is, semi-annual, half a year. So 1,200, what's that, about 10%? So it's about just under 120?
Under 110,
108, just that exactly, or?
Yes.
108 exactly, okay. 108, and then the second part, I won't show it here, but they're saying what they're going to ask you for. They're going to say, and the total interest over the life of the bond. Well, it's a 1-year bond. So the second part means 1 whole year, right? And so we just use the formula again, but this time instead of putting in 0.5, we put in 1 whole year. So the second question is going to be find the interest for the whole year, the life of the bond. and it is a 1-year bond. Right? Second part, life of the bond, 1-year bond. So you just do the same thing for 1 whole year instead of half a year. Is that making sense? So the first question is halfway through. Second question is the whole year's interest. And so that's going to be got to be double, doesn't it? Double 108, 216. Interest for the whole year. Good? So far, so good? Again, this will be on YouTube if I'm going too fast for you. Okay, so a loan of $19,518. Can you see that? I keep forgetting to make it bigger. Loan of $19,518 was repaid at the end of 16 months. That means including the interest. What size repayment check, principal and interest, was written if it was 7.4% annual interest rate was charged? Okay. So what you're going to want to start paying attention to, what's going to get kind of confusing, is they can ask you how much the interest is, and then they can ask you how much the interest is plus the original principal. You want to watch out for those, so they'll kind of change it up back and forth like a pitcher that's trying to fool you with the fastball and the changeup. They're going to do that. This is the game they're playing. So you always want to ask yourself, do they want just interest? And I'll give you a formula for both to make it easy. And this is probably what I would put on my 3x5 card if I was you for the next test. Do they want just interest? If so, then it's just I equals PRT like we've been using. Or do they want interest plus original principal? Right, you understand what I mean by that? In other words, like if I go borrow money from the bank, go borrow $10,000, and they say, okay, we're going to charge you this interest, and after 2 years I pay it back, and maybe the interest was $1,000, right? Interest is basically the money you pay for the privilege of using somebody else's money, right? Right, that's what interest is, right? They make you pay. They give you their money to use for a while, and they charge you for that, right? So the interest is what they charge you to use their original $10,000. So at the end of the time, I'd have to pay back 11 altogether. The original 10 that was theirs all along, and the $1,000 they charged me for using their 10, right? So that's principal plus interest. So if that's the case, then you want the total amount. The amount. Won't it be the original principal plus the PRT? Does that make sense? That would be the formula in that case, which is what we're going to need on this problem. You guys tracking with me? Is that making sense? The amount that you need at the end of that time, if they want you to have interest plus original principal, is the original principal plus PRT. What is PRT? That's the I. That is the interest, right? Okay, this is I, according to the formula right above it, right? So that's just the amount. The amount is the original principal plus the interest they charge you. Now, there's a nice handy way to use this formula. You can factor out the P, and we'll use it that way. It's a little more convenient, just easier to use, like that. That's the formula they'll show you on Math Excel. That's the formula I would write on my 3x5 card. I think I might even have it at the top of the next exam. Check out the practice exam. I'll do whatever I did on that practice exam. I think I gave you these two formulas right at the top of the practice exam. So you won't even need to put them on your 3x5 card, I'm pretty sure. So that's the one we're going to use. That makes sense? So on all the questions, and you want to watch, just like watching the pitcher, is it a fastball or a changeup? Are they asking me just for interest, or do they want, interest and original principal back? Well, what do they say? What size repayment check, principal and interest, right? They want the whole thing. So then I'm going to go, okay. They want me to use this formula. Right? So let's do it. So the amount is the principal. The principal is the $19,518. That's the money that we borrowed, the $19,518. And then the 1 plus the rate, interest rate, that's the 7.4%. There's our R. Move it back 2 places, 0.074. Times the time. What's the time? 16 months. So that's 16 twelfths. Remember, that's that's in terms of years, always. Time's always in terms of years because the interest is in terms of years, right? 7.4% annual rate. That means per year. So that means that's why our time has to be in years as well, to make the formula consistent. Is everybody seeing what I did then? 1 plus RT. Right? Here's the R. Here's the T. So you can just hit the buttons on the calculator. Now, they're getting a little messier on the calculator, aren't they? Depending on, you all have different calculators. And like I said, this is where I would encourage you to bring the one you're going to use because you want to get used to how it works, I'll be glad to help you. They're all a little different. Yeah, I don't know what to say. They're all a little different. So do this one way or the other. That's about all I can say. One way or the other. So, some of them you need to start in here. Yeah. So I can crank out an answer, but I'll be glad to help you if it's doing something weird to you. The answer should be, I don't know what the answer is. It's
21,443.
What'd you get?
21,443.
21,443?
Mm-hmm.
And how much cents? 78 cents. That looks reasonable. Anybody else getting that answer? A couple of you are? Okay. That must be it. Is that okay? If you're having trouble on the calculator, maybe it'd be good to even pause a minute right now. I don't know if you all have a calculator you're going to use, or none of you do, or half of you do, or where you're at with all that. But are you able to get to your homework one way or the other? So let me help. Can I help for a second? Maybe I'll wander around for just a second. Let me know if you're not getting it.
I'm not getting it.
No. See, feel free to work with each other too. Come in nearby, he's not getting that.
That looks good.
Oh, yeah, see how I have 2 sets of parentheses?
Mm-hmm.
See up there?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so try that with the double. See if that'll work for you. Yeah. You guys getting that okay? So anyway, so grab me after. If you're having trouble getting these, I'd be glad to help. So, there we go. Questions on using the formula in general? Good, okay. All right, so 21,443.78. Everybody got that written down? I'm going to move on. All right. Okay. Present value of the given future amount. So, present value given future amount. So, when they say that, future amount, they want me to use the A formula, huh? So I'm going to use that formula. They're not just talking about interest. They're talking, future amount means interest and principal together, huh? You good with that? That makes sense? What they're talking about? Okay. So there it is. So what is find the present value for the given future amount. That means, what is this 80,000? Is that 80,000 a P or an A? Yeah, it's an amount. It's the given, it's what they gave me, future amount. Huh? You guys tracking with me? See how I'm figuring out what the different pieces of the puzzle are? Right? They said they're giving me the future amount. So what they gave me, the 80,000, must be the A. Must be the future amount. So this time they're actually telling me, hey, in the end, you're going to pay back $80,000 total. That's total. That's whatever the original principal was plus the interest, everything all together, 80,000. And they want me to find the present value. So I'm finding P. I don't know what P is. I'm going to find P. Okay, and then what's the rate? That's 0.09. That part's not bad. And the time, 16 months. Well, that's 16 over 12. Again, multiply there by 16 over 12. Does that make sense? Let me slow down for just a minute, and then I'll show you how to. So you're going to have to divide by that big old parenthesis thing. Was everybody good to that setup? I knew I was using this formula, not just not the simpler one, because they talked about amounts, and they gave me this amount. They want me to find the present value. Present value is another way of saying principal. It's nice they're both a P, so it makes it convenient. It's the same thing, right? It's present value or principal right? If I go open up a new savings account, and I put $10,000 in the savings account, and then in for college education or something, and 10 years later it grows a bit. So right now is the present value, or the principal amount I put in the bank. See, that's the same thing, and then later is whatever amount it becomes bigger. So, all right, so present value, and then we got, and this is 16/12 times 16/12, because that's the time. We got to solve for p, so how do we divide? Solve for p, we divide by that whole big thing, don't we? So we divide by this whole thing. Oops, not 0.9, 0.09 times 16/12, divide both sides. Those cancel, p's alone, and you got a lot of button pushing on the calculator. Now, here's where I really need to help you. The calculator's, it's not an automatic thing. These are pretty tricky to get right, so let me slow down and help. Whenever you have more than one item in a zone, and by zone, I mean numerator zone, denominator zone, or later we'll do power zones. Whenever there's like an area, a region, a zone that has more than one item, like this denominator has 3 things in it, or 4, I guess, if you count that too. 4 things, a 1, a 0.09, a 16, and a 12, has 4 things in it. You have to put parentheses around that. Well, of course, it depends on your calculator. If you have those fancy calculators that just like show it as a fraction, like some of the calculators make it look like a fraction, those are nice. And then you don't even have to do parentheses. You can just type it in just like it looks, it'll do great. You don't need to do anything fancy. But if you have, more typically, the calculators that make you enter it all in one line, then you have to put the parentheses, or it won't know. Do you know what I mean? Let me not only tell you what to do, but give you the reason, and it'll stick. I think it'll stick better with you. Think about like 5 over 1 plus 4. If I just type into my calculator 5 divided by 1 plus 4, it doesn't know the whole 1 plus 4 is denominator. It'll just think 5 over 1, 5. And then it'll add 4 and get 9. You see, it doesn't know what's in the bottom. But if you put, let me go back, if you put parentheses, if instead you go 5 divided by 1 plus 4, then it knows, oh, that whole 1 plus 4 goes together in the bottom, and then it'll make that a 5, and 5 over 5 will be 1. Do you see the difference? So if you don't put parentheses, it doesn't know. So whenever more than one item is in an area together, you have to parenthesize that area. You tell the calculator, this group hangs together in this area. That's only if your calculator does everything flat on one line. But if your calculator makes nice fractions, great, then it'll know it. Just enter it like it looks, and it knows. Does that make sense? So then let me write out in particular what you would type in for this one. On most calculators, you would type in something like this. 80,000 divided by, parenthesis, 1 plus 0.09 times 16 divided by 12, parenthesis. You actually don't even need the closing parenthesis. Hit equals. On most calculators, that's how you would type it in. So I parenthesize the whole denominator. So we getting an answer there? So the answer should be, I don't know, something below 80,000, some lower amount. 70,000, 75,000, I don't know, I'm guessing. You got it?
Yeah, 71,428.
428, 57. Anybody else getting that same thing? Looks like it's the right answer. Is that okay? So these are a little tricky on the calculator. That's why you want to bring the one you're going to, don't want to get used to using a different one. And then it's game day and you practice with the wrong glove. We good there? So grab me after if I can help, or people nearby you. Everybody got that answer written down? 71,428, 57. So that was the lower amount, right? That was the money put in the bank that grew to become 80,000 later, just kind of thing, right? The principal investment, it grew to be 80. You want to have a real life sense about you as you do these, because that way it's so easy to catch mistakes. You know what I mean? Because everybody's going to hit wrong buttons and make mistakes. But if you hit wrong buttons, you got 81,000. I hope you would stop and go, no. I did something wrong. The answer's got to be something smaller that grew to be 80. The answer can't be bigger. It's always good if you have that kind of real life sense about you to catch the little mistakes. Try to be real with this stuff. So it's a lower principal that grew to become 80,000 over time. All right. Okay, so student borrows $4,000 at 15% for 3 months. Pay tuition, find the total amount due. So, first off, which formula are we using on this one? Yeah, it's amount again. They're fine total amount, so we're using the A one yet again. Huh? I guess they're not really changing back and forth. It's like all A from here on. It seems like. It's not quite sure. I think we will come back to the other one once or twice. Okay, so A equals P 1 plus RT. You take it from there and see what you can do. You can identify what the different parts are. Feel free to compare with those around you. Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned, you can bring your computers and your phones, and you can be getting your Math Excel homework done while you're in here. You know, for you guys are at all different places. Some of you guys, this is just like cake, and so I don't want to waste your time. Get your homework done while you're in here. You know, bring your laptop, bring your phone, and you guys can get online, right? Is it working? What's that?
Yeah, it works.
Does it? Is it working? Yeah. It's kind of sketchy, huh? It comes and goes a little bit. Yeah. But is it working good? All right, yeah. Feel free to get your stuff done. You can see me do them and do the ones in your homework. Done. Some of you guys really need to hone in. You know, it just depends on how you feel. Whatever, do whatever works for you. We get it. So how about what's the 4,000? Is the 4,000 an A or a P? Is it the amount or the principal? It's the principal, huh? They borrowed the 4,000, right? That's the principal. That's not. They're going to pay something even more than 4,000 back at the end, huh? Right? They used the bank's $4,000. It's not their 4,000. Like I'm using the bank's money to buy a house, right? Or the bank bought me a house and I'm paying them back, right? That's what we do with borrowing. So $4,000 is the P. The R, we all know that. That's the 0.15. The time is 3 months, so that's 3/12 or 1/4 or 0.25, or you just do 3/12 if you want. And the A is what we're looking for, huh? That good? And then hit the buttons on the calculator. And I don't know, something over $4,000. 4150, straight on. Thank you. Is that okay? Questions I can answer? Okay, I'm gonna close it down. Did you get that down? 4150. Okay, so it went from this to this in a month. So A is P 1 plus RT again. So the principal is always the smaller number, huh? And the amount is the bigger number it grows to be. Right? So the bigger number, they're pretty close, because the one we're talking about 1 month. So the bigger number would be the A, the smaller number would be the P. Right? So this is the A, this one's the P. So 73,552.59. The principal investment was the 73,253.97. 1 plus the R is something. Oh, we're trying to find the R, huh? And the T, what's the T? Yep. Yeah, good. It's 1/12 because it's 1 month. But it's always got to be in terms of years. So that's 1/12 of a year. Remember, time is always years because our interest rate is always percent per year. That's why we're forced to make time always into years. So there's our little formula. So we got to solve that for R, don't we? You good to there so far? On that? Oh yeah, maybe I forgot to mention, if you didn't get the homework done, you can do late homework. It's half credit. Did I say that in the first day? Or? Okay, yeah, it was due at 1:30, but if you didn't get it done, feel free to work on it. Any ones, if you got 10 of them done, but didn't get the other, whatever, just the ones you do late, I'll give you 1 out of 2 on it. For now, it'll say full credit. Into the semester, it marks it red on my screen. Into the semester, I give you 1 out of 2 on just the ones you did late. So you can do homework late for half credit. Okay, so there's a couple of ways to go. I probably would just divide by right now instead of distributing. Probably the easiest thing to do is divide by that 73,253.97, like that. And somebody got an answer there for me? It's going to be 1.0. Give me a lot, please. 004.
07.
Uh-huh.
6503.
6503. Okay, great. Is 1 plus r times the 12th. We good so far? I'm going to use a lot of decimals because you don't want to round too abruptly until you're at the last step, right? So when you're in the middle, that's probably overkill. I did more than I need to, but 5 or 6 spots probably while you're still in the middle. All right, keep going. Now we're trying to solve for that r. What should I do next? I would just subtract that 1. Yeah, just subtract that 1. Subtract that 1 from both sides. And we get, then it's just the 0.004076503. Like I said, it's probably overkill. Equals r times a 12th. You good? Can you see all that? Down to there. I'm trying to solve for r. R is saying, I want to be alone. Get rid of this stuff with me. How do you get rid of the 1/12? Multiply by 12, huh? Just multiply both sides. Now, if this was something like 3/12 or 7/12 or whatever, I would just multiply by the upside down. 12/7. Does that make sense? Just multiply by the upside down, both sides. And that'll get rid of that. R will be alone. And you'll have your answer. So just multiply by the upside down. In this case, that's just multiplying by 12. Both sides. And it cancels that out. And R is alone. R equals whatever 12 times that 0.004 number is. Somebody got that?
48.9%.
So it comes out 0.489. Well, give me one more.
04.
0.0489.
Yeah. How many places do they want? They said, nearest tenth. So that means, so there's the decimal. Then you got to change it to percentage. That's the R decimal. Change it to percentage. It moves 2 places to the right, 48.90%. But they only want 1 place after the decimal, 48.9%.
It was 0.0489.
Oh, was it? Okay. Let me fix that. 0.0489. Sorry, I didn't listen. So 0.0489, and then it goes back 2 places, 4.89%, but they only want it rounded to 1 spot. 4.9%? That good? Yeah, they said round to the nearest tenth, so that means in the end, tenth is 1 place after the decimal. Remember how the place values go? If you have a decimal, and you have, this is the first digit, this is the tenths, this is the hundredths, etc. Remember that? So when they say round to the nearest tenth right here, that means 1 place after the decimal. So 4.9%, that 8 rounds up to 9. Remember all that? So I took the decimal, 0.0489, moved it 2 places to make it a percentage, right? 2 zeros and a percent. Always means 2 places. And then rounded. 4.9%. Questions on that one? Good? All right, so same kind of formula. A equals P, 1 plus RT. Dave took out a $6,700 loan at 10%, eventually repaid $73.70. Principal and interest, what was the time period of the loan? So plug everything in and solve for T. Time, yeah. They want T. See if you can get that one. We good? So, so the 6,700. What's that? That's principal, huh? We good? That's the loan. The 6,700 is loan. Can you all see that? Okay. 6,700 is the loan amount, so that's the principal, right? That's the original amount. And 10%'s the rate, 0.10. The time is what we're trying to find. We don't know. Leave that T. And the 7370, that's the amount he repaid altogether, principal and interest. Right? Good to there? Want to solve for T. So see what you can do. I'm going to let you try that. Remember how we did it last time? It's pretty much the same steps. See if you can do what we did last time. And they want it in years, time in years. Oh, it's just a year, isn't it? It's just 1 year. Yeah. You can tell because it just added 10%, just added 670 to that, made it 7370. So they just added 10%, which is 1 year. Anyway, we'll go through the formalities. So divide by the 6,700. Like that, right? So you divide, because T, let me see if I can help. I know this is where it gets messy, huh? So I want to go slow here for people. I know that this is what gets you is all this messy algebra stuff. So it's like T is yelling out, I want to be alone, get rid of all this stuff with me. So it's kind of like peeling an onion. You start from the outer layer and you just peel it off. So I'm going to get rid of this first, 6,700. Then I'm going to get rid of the 1. Then lastly, I'll get rid of the 0.10 by dividing. We always say the number right next to the variable for last, and we divide it off, because it's times. So the opposite is divided, right? It's like peeling an onion. Just work from the outer layer on down to the T. So divide by the 6,700. That's going to be 1 by 1. Okay. Good to there. So we're peeling the onion. Next layer. T said, I won't be alone. Get rid of all the stuff that's next to me. So now all right, get rid of the 1. That'll get rid of that. Come up here. So we have 0.1, I guess. 0.10T. We good to there because, 1.1 minus 0.1 is 0.1. And then finally, T said, I won't be alone. Okay. Last step, divide by the 0.10. And that's just 1. So 1 year is the time on that. Questions on that? All that algebra coming back to you? All right. So I'm going to leave that if you've got that down. Okay. So let's see. So again, same formula. A equals P1 plus R2. Tuition of $1,543 will be due when spring term begins in 5 months. What amount should a student deposit today at 6.93% to have enough to pay the tuition? Okay, let me let you try rather than me just dive in. See how you're doing. These word problems. See if you can figure out what it is they want you to do there. Okay, so the whole question, what's the 1543? Is that the amount or is that the principal? It's the amount.
Because that's the total.
That's the total amount he has to have, or she, or whoever it is, right? That's the total amount the student has to have at the, right? They're gonna put some lower amount in the bank. Are you getting the big idea? They're gonna put some lower amount in the bank. It's gonna grow for 5 months and become this higher amount, and they're gonna pay their tuition. Does that make sense to get the big idea of what the question? put some lower amount in the bank now, it grows for 5 months, becomes this higher amount, and the amount they need for tuition. So what lower amount does the student need to put in the bank today? So it'll grow at 6.93% for 5 months and become this higher amount. So this is the amount that they want it to become. Huh? Does that make sense? So the only way to know that is really to be real with the question. That is the best advice. I don't know if that seems helpful or not, but that really is it for word problems. Is the more real you can be with the thing, the more you'll sense where things go. So, right, she's trying to make this amount later. So, what principal does she need to put in the bank now? To become 1543 later. All right, interest rate, 0.0693, time, 5/12, right? 5 months, 5/12 of a year. So there we go. P is saying, I want to be alone. So what do we do to get P alone? Yeah, one big old divide, huh? Whoops. And whatever you do to one side, you have no choice but to do the same thing to the other. So these cancel. P is alone. And there's what you need to type into your calculator. But remember, when you type it in, whenever you have more than one item in a region, you got to parenthesize it, right? So it's going to be, at least if your calculator lays everything flat. So it'd be 1543 divided by parenthesis 1 plus 0.0693 times 5 divided by 12 equals button. So that's how most calculators will crank it out. So you're expecting an answer lower than the 1543, right? Something lower that'll grow and become 1543. Right? Not much lower. It's going to be like 14 something probably. Somebody got it? 14.99? 51. 14.99, 51. Anybody else got the same answer?
I got 14.99.70.
14.99.70. Anybody else get that same answer? Yeah? A couple people got 70.
1,500.
What's that?
It'd be rounded up to 1,500 as per the instructions.
Oh, do they say, nearest dollar. Oh, I didn't even notice, yeah. Nearest dollar, so yeah, any of those is 1,500. Yeah, thank you. Always read the blue line. They tell you what they want in the blue line. And by the way, if you're ever unsure, you can click question help and show me an example and just hit enter, and jump down to the bottom and you'll see, oh, they want to round it. You'll see what it is they want. If you're ever confused, just hit question help, show an example, enter, jump to the bottom. But they do say it pretty faithfully on the blue line. Round to the nearest dollar. Yes, so whatever, it's 1,500. Either one of those would round to $1,500.
Actually, if it was the 1499.5 on MATLAB, they don't round 5 up. They round 6 up.
Really?
And if you enter the 5, then it'll be wrong. Because I noticed that on one of the problems. I rounded it from 5, and it marked it wrong.
Huh, I'd like to see that later. Because I've worked with the program for a long time. I haven't seen something like that. But yeah, show me.
Yeah, I know MATLAB does that too.
My MATLAB?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was the same as my MATLAB. It's just without the video lectures. It's exactly the same engine, yeah. So yeah, show me. I'd like to see that. Good on that? Is that good? Any questions on that? Were all the other ones rounded nearest dollar too? I kept giving these cent answers and I didn't notice?
No,
just this one. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, we got... Okay. Stock that sold for $39 per share at the beginning of the year was selling for $86 at the end of the year. If the stock paid a dividend of $8.15 per share, what is the simple interest rate on the investment in this stock? Consider the interest to be increase in value plus the dividend. All right, a lot of fancy language. What are they talking about? Well, they're talking about a let's kind of summarize, $39 stock climbing and growing to be $86 per share, plus it paid a dividend of $8.15, and they say right here, consider the interest to be an increase in value plus the dividend. So really, it's like the stock grew up to, do want you to add those. What is that, 94.15. That's really what happened. Does that make sense first off? Just the big idea. What they're saying is these stocks, they grew from, they were worth $39 a share. They grew to be $86 a share, plus they paid everybody $8.15 per share. So they really had that growth as well. Right? Any money paid out is like if a company makes profit and they take out some of their profit, right? That's what it is. So you add those, that's all growth stuff. So it really, the stocks really grew from $39 to $94.15 a share, and then they took out $8.15 as profit. Is that making sense? So you have to add those together. That's all part of the growth. So really what they're saying to us is, hey, somehow the stock grew from $39 a share up to $94 a share. What was the rate of growth that caused that to happen? What was the rate of growth? On this problem, we're not adding back the principal at any time. I don't know if you see that. That's what's a little subtle to see. We're not adding interest plus principal. We're never adding interest plus principal on this problem. It's not happening. We're not adding interest plus principal. All we're doing, it's only growth by interest rate, I should say. That's all that's happening. They're just saying, what was the rate of growth? How does $39 become $94.15? What percentage rate growth is that? That's what's being said to us. So all we're going to use is I equals PRT. It's back to that formula. We're not using the A equals P parentheses 1 plus RT. We're not doing that one because we're never adding back the original principal. There's not a growth and add back the original. There's just a growth. Does that make sense? There's just a growth in the stock. There's never adding back the original amount. So, all right. So that's the kind of stuff that gets hard. I think that's especially what's hard on the next exam because, it's all mixed up together, and you've done all this in your homework. That's why I give you those practice exams. You want to spend time on those. And the trick, a lot of the battle is identification, huh? You have the formulas. You'll have them on your card. You got your calculator. It's just, hey, which formula is this? Which thing's the A? Which thing's the P? Is it the straight one or is it the A formula? That's a lot of the battle. That's what you want to kind of spend time discerning. And you see how I'm saying it's not the A formula. We never add back the original principal on this one. It's just, hey, how much did the thing grow by? Never add back the original principal. Okay, so this is the formula we're going to use. So the final amount, what is the I? They're not even... Yeah. Let me just say, what is the interest growth? Can you tell how much it grew by? The amount of interest is the 94.15 minus the 39. It's the change. So what is that? How much did it change by? 50 something. 55.15. 55.15. That's how much it went up by. That's the interest. It's like, you know what it's like? It's like if I went to the bank. How about this? Maybe I'm trying to, this is a tricky one for me to say it well, too. I don't think I'm saying it that well. What if I went to the bank and I put $39 in the bank? And, no, see, that's not the, I'm not helping. Never mind. That's just not the same thing. It's not going to work. It's the stock. The stock grew from $39 up to $94.15. It grew by, this is the amount of interest. It grew by $55.15. That's the growth that happened to it. So that's the I. That's the I over here, the 55.15. What's the P, the principal? That's the original. What was it originally? That's the $39 it was originally. The interest rate is what we're looking for. And the time, what was the time? It just said beginning of the year and then end of the year. So it's 1 year, huh? Just from beginning to the end of the year. So T is just one. It's just 1 year. Does that make sense? So there's our formula. I equals PRT. Again, the interest is the growth. It's the growth. 55.15. So how much did it grow by? What was the rate? How do you solve this little formula for R? Divide by the 39. So the R is, somebody have the calculator, 55.15 divided by 39? 1.414. Now I have to change that to a percentage. Everybody good so far? I know this one's kind of weird to look at. To change to percentage, remember you got to move the decimal 2 to the right. I hope you're not getting confused by that. It's 141.4%. And yeah, they said 10th, so that is our answer. Well, what came after that last 4?
1.
Yeah, so we're good right there. 141.4%. That was the interest. That was the growth. In other words, whenever your interest rate is more than 100%, that means it more than doubled. Right? Does that make sense? If some amount, if some amount like a $10 thing grows to become $20, that's 100% growth. Right? It added its whole self, 100% of itself. Right? If something grows by 50%, that's only adding half of itself. Right? So if $39 more than doubled, which it did, double 39 would be with a 78. So this is more than 78. This is more than double. So it grew by more than 100%. It grew by more than its whole self. Right? So that makes sense. Our answer would be more than 100%. It's 141.4%. Is that good? 140. Okay, building contractor gives a $13,000 promissory note to a plumber who has loaned him $13,000. The note is due in 9 months with interest at 5%. 6 months after the note is signed, the plumber sells it to a bank. If the bank gets a 6% return on its investment, how much will the plumber receive? Will it be enough to pay a bill for $13,006? A lot of handing off of things here, huh? All right, so building contractor 13. So let's make sure what we're saying here. $13,000 promissory note to a plumber who has loaned him $13,000. The note is due in 9 months with interest at 5%. So let's say what should the plumber be paid? Right? The building contractor, $13,000 promissory note to a plumber who has loaned him $13,000. Note is due in 9 months with interest at 5%. 6 months after the note is signed, the plumber sells it to the bank. If the bank gets a 6% return on its investment, how much will the plumber receive? Okay, so let's take this. Let me make sure I'm being clear with you. Okay, so yeah, let's use the A equals P1 plus RT formula. We're talking about growth in coming back, right? We're talking about adding back the original principal. So we're saying if the promissory note is $13,000, that's the principal amount. That's like borrow. It's like the plumber. It's like the contractor borrowed $13,000. Is that making sense? Right? But it was borrowed in services. Basically, the plumber, the building contractor, he's building the building. He hired the plumber to do his work. The plumber did his work and said, "You owe me $13,000 now for the work I just did for you." And the contractor said, "Okay, here's a note, promissory note that says I owe you $13,000 today, and it'll grow in interest as I don't pay you for 9 months until the house finally sells." Right? So it's like I owe you $13,000 a day. It's going to grow in interest. That's what the promissory note is. Does that make sense? It's like he borrowed $13,000 from the plumber. He borrowed it in the plumber's services. Right? Making sense? So the principal, is $13,000. That's the amount the contractor borrowed. Okay, now let's do 9%. Let's do it's 5% for 9 months. I know we're not going to go the whole 9 months, but let's just first figure that out. That'll give us what will be due at the end of the 9 months, if we figure that out. And then we'll go back and do the second part. Okay, so how much, somebody have that number? $13,000 times 1 plus 0.05 times 9/12?
13,487.5.
487 point, just 5 straight?
Yeah.
0.5. Okay, so 13,487.5. That's the 9 months, right? The note is due in 9 months. So the bank will be paid that. They will be paid that at the end of the 9 months. Does that make sense? The plumber is handing the note to the bank, right? So in other words, the plumber was owed $13,000 the minute he did the services. At the end of the 9 months, the plumber will be owed this amount, because it'll grow. Am I losing you? I know it's a confusing one. All right, so at the end of the 9 months, this is what, let me write that. Due to the plumber, how do you spell plumber? Just put the B, okay. Plumber at end of the 9 months. So that's what's due to the plumber at the end of the 9 months. But before those 9 months come up, at 6 months in, right, 6 months after, he gives it to the bank. He says, all right, bank, here you go. You will get this now. So he's handing that note to the bank. Whoever holds that note gets to collect from the contractor at the end of the 9 months. Does that make sense? So the bank now has that note. And they're saying, okay, and at the end of the 9 months, we get this money now that was going to go to the plumber. The plumber's giving it away, selling it to the bank. The bank's saying, okay, we'll take your note, which is a promise from the contractor to pay us. At the end of the 9 months, we'll take that note. We're going to get this, right, 3 months from now, right? Because it's after 6 months that they hand it, he sells it to the bank. So what will the bank do? Now, they won't just give him that exact amount, right? They want to make money. Banks are in business to make money, right? So what will the bank do? The bank will pay him less than this, won't they? Getting the big idea first up? They will pay him less than this so that at the end of 3 months later, when 9 months are up, they have made some interest. How much less? Well, the bank wants to make 6% per year. Okay, so bank will make 6% interest for 3 months, right? From 6 months to 9 months, 3 months, to become $13,487.5. That amount that they're going to get paid by the contractor. So that's the new A. Is this making any sense? Am I totally losing you? P1 plus RT. That's the new A. That's the amount. Whoops, I can't talk right here. That's the amount that the bank is going to get 3 months from now. So what will they pay the plumber? Today, they want to make 6% interest for 3 months, 3/12 of a year. So that's how and then we solve that for the P, the amount they'll pay the plumber today. How we doing? I know that's a tough one. They're wrapping us up with a doozy. You guys getting the big idea? Can I talk it through again? Maybe let's get the answer first, and then I'll maybe say it again one more time. Can somebody do that division for me? We got to divide by the 1 plus 0.06 times 3/12. Divide by the 1 plus 0.06 times 3/12. And you got to put parentheses and all that. It's going to be something lower than 13,487.5. Somebody got it? Yeah.
What are we doing with the 6 months? Because it says 6 months after the note is signed.
Yeah, we're going from 6 months to 9 months. That's why it's a 3-month hold for the bank. That's why I'm using the 3/12. Yeah. Give me an answer first. Let's type it in. I want to make sure I've got everything right. So somebody have an answer on their calculator?
13,000.
Anybody else getting that same thing?
Yeah.
And it says round near a cent. Okay, 13, 288, 18. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so one more time. So I think the big picture is the main thing that you want to get out of this. That'll make all the details make sense for you. So the way this thing works, can I change the page? You guys got all that written down? Is that okay if I just move over here? So basically there was, what were those numbers? It was 13,000. Okay, so the way the timeline worked is the plumber was owed $13,000, right? He finished the work, boom, $13,000 is due him the minute he finishes his labor. He did his work, the contractor is supposed to pay him $13,000. Contractor will pay, or rather than, let's not even use his name, just say, in 9 months, the plumber will get, and then that's that other number we figured out, whatever A times 13,000, 1 plus RT, came out to be, what was that number, 13,000? That first, I'll just go back here. 13,047.5. 487.5. That's the amount the plumber should get at the end of 9 months, right? That's what he's going to get. Then he hands that to the bank in 6 months, or I'll say 6 months in. 6 months in. 6 months in, he sells it, gives it, sells it, whatever, to the bank, right? So the bank's going to get that. So bank now, that amount's not going to change. That's the amount the contractor's going to pay, right? So whoever was holding that note, doesn't matter who's holding it in the end, they're going to get paid $13,047.5 because that's what the contractor owes, the holder of that note. So when the plumber sells it to the bank, so the bank will get the $13,487.5 in 3 months. Does that make sense? The bank will get that in 3 months because at 6 months in, they obtain that note, so they've got 3 months to wait. And so when they get that note, the bank will look at it and go, this thing in 3 months is worth that. That's what they would think, right? In 3 months, it's worth that. So they will think, okay, in 3 months it's worth that. We know we're going to have a value of $13,487.5 in 3 months. So what are we going to hand the plumber today? What are we going to buy that note for? We're going to give the plumber something less. So that's why that amount is, the final answer is the amount the plumber receives. He receives something less. The principal handed to the plumber, right, which is lower and will grow to become, in 3 months, the $13,487.5. And what rate did the bank want? The bank says 6%. And that's in 3 months. So that's why that works. That make sense? All right, we're out of time. That was a tricky one. So this section is due Thursday, day after tomorrow, at class time, right? So 1:30 Thursday. What section is this? 5.1, right? Yeah. So 5.1 is due Thursday at 1:30 on the Math Excel. There we go. All right, guys, hang out if you have questions. Be glad to answer them. Otherwise, have a good day. I'll see you Thursday.